um, who I can say is just such a beloved member of our community, who always strives for us to do better and to be better as both artists and people. Kay Ulande Barrett is a poet, essayist, cultural strategist, and A+ napper. That's a big one, I agree. They are the winner of the 2022 Foundation for Contemporary Arts Cy Twombly Award for Poetry, a winner of the 2022 Next Book Residency with Tin House, and a recipient of a 2020 James Baldwin Fellowship at McDowell. Their second book, More Than Organs, received a 2021 Stonewall Honor Book Award by the America Library Association and is a 2021 Lambda Literary Award finalist. They have featured at the United Nations, the Lincoln Center, the Hemispheric Institute, Symphony Space, the Ford Foundation, Brooklyn Museum, Princeton, Columbia University, Yale, Manchester Pride, Sesame Street, and more. Their contributions are found in the New York Times, Poetry Magazine, Color Lines, Literary Hub, The Advocate, Al Jazeera, Nylon, Vogue, The Rumpus, The Lily, and elsewhere. Please welcome Kay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, first and foremost, Zoeglossia, all the people that built this space. Thank you, Walela, for that beautiful introduction. I'm so honored that you get to host me today. I'm so nervous, everybody. My name is Kay Ulande Barrett. My pronouns are he, they, siya, if you are a Filipino person. I'm currently located in unceded and occupied land of the Lenape and Munsee-Hoking peoples in New Jersey. Image description, I'm a brown round queer with glasses, light brown. I have short black hair. I have a blue hat on with a white letter K on top. And I wear a black shirt, a Tin House t-shirt, and I have COVID hair. So thank you for your patience. I just want to let you all know that I come from royalty. I was, and I don't believe in monarchies, by the way. I was a beauty pageant child as a kid. Yeah. Super cutthroat, big competition in ableism. And you're looking at Little Miss Fudgy, 1989, and Little Miss Luzon, Philippines, 1995. Here's a poem to the Philippine communities that raised me and to all our small selves who change outfits and beliefs as we evolve. The end of the world means trans boys sprout from sequence. The last time he wore a dress, he felt sequins were snake, blood of an artery rippled, or was it Howard? You could hear the storm of him, bedazzled in sparkles. Did I mention he was 15 and his mom organized the beauty pageant? Summoned doctors and engineers from her barangay, her blue collar made worthy among them. If she just worked harder. He felt their eyes sliver to his confused body. Boy bested by lipstick, boy with flowers, boy with crested wings for wavy hair. And to think, what is a petticoat but a gate, a cloud of taffeta, a new orbit? Imagine him then, huh? A dare to be cumulus. Here for one night, he'll be reckless in the sky. There, no one is smug or ashamed, and they'll think him queen, but under the dress, he opts for starshine. Yes, royal. Instead, a prince whose laugh juggernauts rolls over in thunderclap. The mist of him barrels over the hotel ballroom draped in white tablecloth, according to the organization's treasurer, whose lipstick glimpsed of blackberries. She saw parables of light, gold boundless beams silked over stage at the sight of his smirk. A parade of high-heeled drag queens emerged. Garlands of hot pink, of seafoam blue flounce soliloquies and lip sync to 90s R&B classics. Next, the boys with eyeshadow adorned leather, which gilded on their riverbed chests. Phantom boys heaved pages of poems over the chandeliers, stanzas like confetti. How my uncles, titos, toupees transmute to a dervish of kites, glitter enveloped. At this point, a hotel manager has called the police. As a turn of events, the security swiftly intercepted, danced to the music of High Heels, WGN News at 9, ushers an anchor who outs herself as trans to say her name like full sugar bite in jubilation. The freedom to name herself to thousands gets rejoiced in the rain. She puts on her favorite wig, no fear. Parloristas crest on the main stage in applause, to find flesh, to revel in bashful blush, to know that splendor doesn't have to be tsunami. Instead, dozens of aunties sob tears of relief, kicking off their own pumps, giving the queens a blessed offering, and the dance floor, well, that's just an altar. To have been there is to celebrate the spectacle of breath, the act of knowing. The carceral is not everything. In fact, beloveds, we can take it away. Be brazen bouquet. Be new. Thank you. So all of these poems are new. And in my upcoming book, Root Systems, doesn't have a home yet. As my students know in session, as the fellows know, I don't believe there's enough sick pastorals. So here's a poem, Sick Pastoral, a sick ecology poem for Jelani Fontaine and Belen Berhane. Then how does candy spill? This way. Stare at the sky as the My Chart results record blood levels. Peach-laden, cherry lacquer, lilac blossom marathon, more than a windowsill on any almost evening in, wait. What month is it? When statistics play. When the masks are forgotten, there'll be more of us we'll have to teach. Catheters are ivy. Monstera fenestration consoles when you're on hold with the pharmacy. Again, you grow impatient. Breath boasts spasm, spontaneity in apricot-colored view. Skin scales, skin fails, fish gut gratuitous inflammation, or how about the hippo-rhinoceros hybrid unfurling knuckles into your neck? Yes, your dog will curl into the canyon of your shoulder. No doubt, your cat can scale the ridge of your couch overlooking a lakefront of laundry. When do you teleport to your mother's palm softness for a dizzy haven? That must be your default place, huh? Do train tracks thrum aura into a yacht call? Are you the wolf, howling gut punch, scurrying to the toilet, or are you just the toilet? Is it kidneys? Again. And what of your riverbend bag? And what of blood rains from your second or fourth surgery that was totally Jupiter, harpooning Saturn's rings, and now there's leopard print welts on your abdomen. Is your body the costume, or are you just an impersonator? Unhuman. And sometimes forceps are rotten tulips. Actually, sometimes it feels like you are the dead bouquet, just, kept around from a good occasion. Oh, sweet memory. Oh, dehydration of the moment. Storm, aftermath, abandonment. You breathe a fleet of weeps or cumulus cascade, depending on the day. How you lily pad from one scowl to another missed meal. Oh, speaking of frogs, is your skin still inflamed? How you raindrop, how you quietly pebble, how you can evaporate as thin as air. High pain might not be cosmology, but oh my kindreds, how you end up seeing all the stars anyway. Thank you. So I have one last poem. People believe in trans for trans, et cetera, et cetera. So I wrote a poem based on the term sick for sick. This is my last poem. I'm excited to witness the fellows and thank you for your time. Their body patched, swollen skin, hair flecks gone rogue, mismatched knees ache, knits, quilts throughout, and curvature. Whew. Curvature is a soft thing. They said, if we hum close enough that our chests touch, shared breath comes from belly up, that is not platonic. Now breathe same air. Nostril kinetic by way of brow cleft, pirouette of migraine syllables, twirl temples. Strain is something to lull here together. When nerves are ablaze, I am told to be blanket. Lay my torso on theirs, abdomen to abdomen, core to core. Is this what a field does to a hill? Spill it with poppies. I wait on their skill. How they will sigh. The human body is heating pad. Limbs bonfire, flip sheets. You can't reverse sick. Today, we don't want to. Chests pulse soft as lake. Come spring, we never do this again. There's only the memory of it. How their lungs cathedral, how I prayed there. On the ledge of inhale, sternum sacred, coughed him, spasm, luminescence. Syllables stretched, muscled sacrament, more than splay us. Petals in overlap, us an ampersand on fire. Thank you so much, Zoeglossia.
Oh my goodness. Y'all, please give it up with the reactions, the claps, the hearts, the celebration emojis. Thank you. And the chat is going wild. We have whoa, exclamation points, hearts, thank you. We have many, many quotes of what was said tonight. I can just say personally, I felt just in my chest something awaken and loosen itself up. And it might need to be a crying session later, and that is okay. But thank you so much, Kay. Thank you. So I'm gonna kick off the rest of the evening with our lovely fellows. This is just, okay. Sorry to scream randomly. So our next fellow is Bri Yakshini Moore, who is a podcaster, poet, and political agitator. As executive producer of Power Not Pity, a podcast about the lives of disabled people of color, Z has contributed words and audio to many conversations about disability, race, and gender within the podcasting industry and beyond. Bri is a proud Jamaican American, queer, non-binary, trans, disabled, alien prince from the Bronx. Give it up for Bri, y'all.
Hey everybody, it's Bri here. Wow. Can we just take a deep breath? That was amazing, Kay. Thank you so much. So I'll just give you a visual description. I am a dark-skinned Black person with a very fluffy afro today. I'm wearing dark colored glasses that are white rimmed. I'm wearing 2 earrings in the shape of the African continent and a white button-up shirt. Next to me is my lovely black and gold wallpaper because I like to have gold around me these days. I'm gonna be reading 3 poems. I hope that's okay. And yeah, I guess I'll just get started. They're all poems about gender and race. Yeah, one is about COVID. Okay. So the first one is called Today a Sea Rises Within Me. And I wrote it for a fellow poet, Akweke Emezi. And it mentions briefly dysphoria. So this is Today a Sea Rises Within Me. Because I scrolled down to one of your photos, the one that announced your newest embodiment, a disabled Obanje. Little spirit, you caught a body, but not one of your own making. Opulent, Obanje, Emezi, ever shifting, yet still tethered to this wretched earth, a beacon burning bright, disfigurement, disrobed, melanin unmasked. You lie on the hotel bed, lips parted for all the world to see. After being dysphoric the entire fucking day, I just wanted to see you in your nude beauty, a dead thing, bearing your twin scars. What does it feel like to be lipstick on nullified flesh? A mystery wrapped in crimson, blood rushing, brazen, glorious through every vein, a spiritual all its own. Tonight, I cry alone, my disabled body, melting with all my tears, sulfur and acid burning my cheeks. My screen holds a message. See how much of the world you can bend. So, as the corporeal ocean rolls over, I gather up my gray matter. I begin writing anew. Listen as my pen roars, for it is not with pain nor punishment, it is only the sound of release. And here's my COVID poem, From COVID's Lips to Our Ears, and just a little bit more about it. It's about medical ableism. It's about the trickery of the pandemic, if you will. I'm giving COVID a voice here. From COVID's lips to our ears. You think you can erase me, but you can never truly face me, because denial lives in your subconscious. A sea of synapses helping, a sea of synapses firing to help you survive. And your kind is complicity embodied. Your kind is a perfect target. Aim and shoot, bullseye. Your kind gets a straight shot every time. Remember, I am not of your kind. Glacier melted and reconstituted again with the worst intentions in mind. I am the past, the present, the future. I am the deep, deep incision you could never suture. And your kind is easy to fool. Tell me again about how freedom works. I feel free to be me when I make my way through you. I leave an imprint. When I leave, I'll never truly leave. Your kind is too irresistible of a playground, and I want to climb and swing. Let me take a stroll through your mind again and again with abandon. I am a Nancy, made real and true, the trickster arachnid, ever invisible. And your kind is nothing but prey, a meal that's as tasty as the fear of the wildebeest, soon to be captured by the lioness. Let me rest on your epithelia. Let me make a nest in your alveolar cells, formed by your bullheaded ignorance. Further and further with your kind, I claim freedom with your every breath. And the last one is dedicated to my wheelchair. She doesn't have a name, but she's a will. So I call this one When I Will Around. I'm gonna put my laptop a little bit further away from me, so maybe I can get a little bit louder, because this one is about disabled joy, y'all. I want to lift y'all back up. And there are many curse words. So if you feel so inclined, if you're following along, say it with me. Okay, when I will around. Nobody can tell me shit when I'm rolling through these streets. Move out my way, because I'm running on a 4. Only wishing there was a speed higher than hair. A speed to leave all the turtles in these streets feeling a whole lot of fear. When I will around, my spoony friends want to know if they can slide in so we can all roll deep. There might be 3 of us, but that's enough to take up these motherfucking streets. Because we the obstacle gang. We run this shit. When we rolling through, nobody can push past us or try to go around us, because they'll get clipped, maybe run over. A short trip face first to the ground. Yo, when I will around, it's like I can't feel your ableist gaze sizing me up like I ain't nothing, point blank, a 0. But let me tell you something, abled father fucker. You ain't got 0 on me. Because when I will around, nobody, that's right, nobody can match the freedom I've found. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Bri, thank you. The chat is going brazy per usual. So we're just gonna get it rolling, get it right, get it going. Salim said, that's right. Kay said, yes, yes. Deborah said, nobody, no chair, bound shit here. Thunder said, yes. You had a whole bunch of yeses and nobody, nobody. That is the theme of the evening. Nobody can impede on your freedom. So thank you. That was just such a lovely, lovely ending. It is always wonderful to hear you, to see you, to experience you. And so I'm just so joyful that everyone else got to too. And just thank you for taking us on that ride with so much care and so much love, and for allowing us to experience you in whole. So just thank you, Bri. I'm gonna go on to the next poet of the evening. It's only 2 poets in, y'all. It's about to be a bumpy ride. It's about to be it. So the next poet is Elizabeth. Elizabeth Mead is a poet with cerebral palsy who lives in Asheville, North Carolina. Born against the odds of survival at 23.5 weeks, she weighed just 1.1 pounds. This miracle inspires her enthusiastic exploration of life, immense gratitude, and compassionate heart. Her poems have appeared in the magazines Kaleidoscope and The Laurel of Asheville, as well as In Between Spaces, an anthology of disabled writers. She is currently working on her first book of poems. Please give it up and give all your love to the amazing, lovely, wonderful Elizabeth. Oh, you're muted, Elizabeth.
Just realized that. Yeah, thank you. Oops. Okay. I'm so glad to go after that lovely introduction and after that poem by Bri. As a fellow wheelchair user, I definitely know all too well the feeling of freedom and empowerment and joy that comes from racing my power wheelchair through the streets and sidewalks of so many places. So thank you for that, Bri. I'd forgotten to put in my bio as well that I have a poem on poetryfoundation.org website as well, as part of the collection that was curated, I believe, by Sheila Black. So I just want to put that out there. So I'll be reading 3 poems this evening, all of which actually are about my my relationship to my body, my deepening of understanding understanding my body. I'm just trying to just realize I pulled up the wrong document for some reason. Where did the someone probably linked it in the chat, so I'll find it. A second. Okay. I just oops. One. Where did it go? Is it?
Elizabeth, if you want to take a moment, that's totally true. I just
Yeah,
want to.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I found it.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I found it. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So this first poem is one I wrote directly after attending last year's retreat. So thanks for that. The retreat was really inspiring. It's called Ode to Spastic Cerebral Palsy. My muscles tense like butterflies, trying to break free from their cocoons. Bless this lifelong struggle to be seen by the world as something beautiful, something worth unapologetically taking up space. Do not pity their constant wrestling with movement. This is how I discover how deep my well of strength runs. And I just realized I forgot to give a visual description, so I'll do that now. I am a light brown skinned woman wearing a multicolored blouse, multicolored dangling beaded earrings with short black curly hair, brown eyes, and behind me, if it's in frame still, are several colored balloons left over from my belated 33rd birthday celebration a couple of days ago. So this next poem is one which I am very fond of. It's an oldie but a goodie, as the saying goes. It's titled Ode to My Left Arm. You were never the bad one, just misunderstood. Rebel against the tame stillness of a body beholden, conductor of a symphony to my vibrant energy. You bounce on invisible trampolines. I marvel at your beautiful wildness. A wing against my side, you flap free of regret, while my fist bangs my hip in search of the beat of a drum. You've always known there's music in me, even when I'm in pain. I'm sorry for the times I wished you were gone. Closed hand, a sleeping flower, elegant fingers gently curled. They delight in their arch, beckon for the perfect fit. Your palm holds hundreds of pearls of sweat. Thank you for your caress, the forgiveness of a wild joy I criticized. Thank you for daring to love life passionately, even when it didn't love you back. And this last poem is a newer poem that I wrote. Actually, it was a poem that I wrote during a week where I wrote 11 poems. They're all just flowing. And this is Questions for My Feet. After you begun After you began sitting on wheelchair footrests daily, did you grieve the frequent lack of contact with the earth? Did you miss feeling its warm touch instead of cold metal? Did you begin daydreaming of peppering the earth with kisses? Did you settle for kissing each other instead? Did you cuddle close as hours unspooled themselves before you, wonder what pattern the tapestry of your future would follow? Thank you.
Please give it up for Elizabeth, y'all. And happy freaking birthday, beautiful soul. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us and allowing us to celebrate you. Thank you. Everyone in the chat is going up. There were a lot of quotes. Did you begin daydreaming of peppering the earth with kisses? Did you grieve the frequent lack of contact with the earth? Lots of hearts, lots of beautiful. Yay, Elizabeth. That's one of my favorite ones in all caps. Oh my, such a fabulous reading from Sheila. Wonderful. Hearts. What a joy. Yes, yes. Zoom, y'all. Celine put, yes, so beautiful. So I just hope that you feel loved and held in this moment because you are just such a joy to be around. So just thank you, Elizabeth.
I certainly do. I really appreciate all of you. Thanks so much.
Great. Lovely to see you per usual. Love this group of folks. Okay, we're going to shift into the next poet slowly but surely. You know, everyone's pieces have been conversation with each other in a way this evening too, and a lot of it's about freedom and taking up space, and reminds me a lot of June Jordan too. So just thank you all for just feeding me personally, and I'm sure everyone else is feeling that way too. The next poet that we have is Nora Teferi, who is a 27-year-old self-diagnosed autistic woman who writes primarily free-form poetry and short stories. She was born and raised in East Africa and now resides in Canada, where they are working on putting together a poetry anthology to submit for publishing. Nora operates from an anarcho-communist and empathy-driven framework and hopes to help even one person feel acceptance and envision a better world through her writing. Just give it up for Nora. I'm already cheesing that bio. So sweet. Is Nora with us by chance?
Yeah, I think Nora's an attendee though, rather than a panelist right now for some reason.
Is there a way that we can fix that?
Yes, I just promoted her there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's a quick promotion. I mean, David, we could get some economic mobility if we could just promote. I'll go back on mute.
those are some real politics. Okay, Celine, that's fine. If we could all just get some economic equity as disabled people, listen, the way that we could run this world, the way and in the best way possible, right? Because equity. So let's hope, let's pray. But I appreciate you saying that, Celine.
So I'm trying to promote Nora. Is it Nora Teferi?
Yes, correct.
Okay, Nora, I'm allowing you to promote yourself. Just accept it so we can hear you and see you.
If we need to wait, we can maybe swap out the order. I'm totally fine with that. I just want to make sure that that's okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm Nora's declining the promotion, so I'm not sure what we can do here.
We can probably have a team.
I'm sorry. That is not an error on Nora's part. Nora had asked the poem to be voiced.
Okay.
And I apologize. I did drop it in the chat. I apologize, Nora. Are Nora's documents still easily visible, or should I drop the link back in the chat for folks? And then we talked about voicing, and I'll voice. I'll drop it back in the chat for quick reference. I can go ahead and start voicing. This is Salim. I didn't give a visual description, which I will do. A black man with glasses, right-sided cochlear implant, a mustache, light gray shirt, and a gold necklace. Behind me is a rocking chair, rain, and a little bit of humidifier mist. This is from Nora, she, they. To the faculty and ASL team at Zoeglossia, thank you for your work. Below are a few selections of my writing that I'd like to have read. I've arranged them in order of preference. If run short on reading, we can cut, but Nora, we are not going to run short on reading, and I've seen these pieces and I'm not trying to cut them. Description. These pieces represent a few of the themes from my work that allow me to explore power. With so many intersecting aspects of my identity being subject to constant oppression, I rarely feel secure or powerful. The poems from this reading were written in my fleeting moments of hope, of rage, of strength, and peace. I hope they give listeners a little of each. Number 1, stained glass eyes make everything sparkle. I like to think about trees, the way that from the moment they germinate, they crane upwards towards the light. I like to think about how their roots grow so much faster than the parts of them we can see, double-edged swords, the soil but a protean hilt. Sometimes I think I hear them whisper to each other beneath the earth, privy to secrets we will never know, keeping each other alive, keeping us alive, and still ever growing, growing, growing. I wonder if they hurt. I wonder if they feel us moving and clomping around up here, ripping and burning them apart. I wonder if one tree grieves for another. They stand just like us. They grow just like us. They talk just like we do. Why wouldn't they feel? I wonder if they ever tire of it all, if they ever dream. Sometimes when all is still and quiet, when the cool night air whisks the cares of the day away, when the moon blankets the sky with her indigo shroud and the critters come out to revel in the absence of the sun's withering stare, sometimes then I think I hear them. Sometimes I think they hear me. I like to think about trees, the silent givers, strong and proud, subject to nature's whims, yet always seeking to survive, to thrive, craning their ever-lengthening necks and arms and faces, craning and straining and stretching, feeling and dreaming and hoping, ever hoping, lifting, ever lifting towards the light. Poem number 2. Strawberries and Cream. For a visual description of this poem, there is a repeating phrase in my body, which is right aligned, and the bulk of the text is center aligned. In my body, it is warm. There are folds and crevices, skin flushed with the warm red rush. Just beneath my skin, my heart's work circulating. In my body, it is soft. Fistfuls of flesh line my thighs, hips, back, breasts, lit with the golden promise of life, craving motion and rhythm in my body. It is a tumult. A tide waxes and wanes with the moon crashing against the shoreline, folding back into itself, a kingdom unconquerable, and I, its infallible queen. In my body, I reign supreme, unchallenged. I am mine and mine alone. Piece number 3, Ocean. I see myself floating away through concrete and acrid air to a place golden with possibility, bathed in indigo. Somewhere wet and dark where leaves drip with honey and time doesn't exist. I see myself shedding, ripping away layer by layer, every shred of negativity growing plump with pure mirth, laughter, bubbling up from my gut, glowing in my cheeks and through my eyes until the world can't help but notice. I see myself spreading my legs, breathing deep, loving free. I see myself unafraid. She is magnificent. And the final poem, Ishtar. This poem is also center-aligned. Quotes at the beginning and the end are italicized with unformatted text in the middle. Ishtar. I am God of myself. And I saw my foremothers all stretched out in a line behind me, a silken, bruised, brown thread of bodies, lives lived and unlived, faces remembered and forgotten, they, me, I, they, and they all said as one, as I, as they, as she, there is work to be done, live and burn it all. Make a new world, make a world new in our likeness, the likeness of earth, of the mother, of the divine, of love as above. Please give all the love to Nora. It was an honor to read your work tonight.
Thank you so much, Salim, and thank you, Nora, and just thank you for allowing us to experience your work. And my goodness, that line, I am God of myself, is going to stay with me. I want it tattooed on my forehead. As someone who has a lot of tattoos, that is meaningful. So just thank you so much. It is such an honor to witness y'all's work. Just goodness. We're gonna go into the chat real quick. We got flames, we got multiple hearts, we have Nora with the flame emoji from Pinka. We got a lot of flames, lots of flames. Lots of colors of Oshun too, which I really love because of what you mentioned in your poem. We have hearts, we have a wow emoji from Elamar. We have whoa whoa, so beautiful, and it just keeps going. So I hope every single one of you who reads takes a little bit of time to look at the chat, because everyone is deeply witnessing and loving y'all's work. So I'm going to introduce our next poet. Ren Leo is bracketed for now. In figuring out how to translate their self, they are grateful for the spaces where they do not have to, those rooted in disability justice, their cutie pop poetry, spoken word families, and of course, their grandma's kitchen. Love that. In Ren's work, facilitating community accountability processes and responding to crisis, they have grown to always turn to poetry as survival and pleasure in imagining our collective sick, disabled, BIPOC liberation. Please give it up for Ren.
Hello. I thought I was on a little bit later, so I'm going to close my door really quickly. But in terms of starting with a visual description, well, my name is Ren Liu. I am a transmasculine Asian person sitting in my bed in front of my sort of wall, which has a poster of The Watermelon Woman, which is one of my favorite films. And someone called this a vertical altar, which I really, really loved yesterday in the cohort. And there's also art from some of my dear friends. There's also a poster that says, "Trans is freedom, is adventure, is endless." I am in a black muscle tank that reads "Puss and Boots," which I like to say is another few words for how trans people get dressed in the morning. I'm gonna read two poems for you today. Content warning for the first one for mentions of sexual violence and medicalized violence, and just want to share some gratitudes, first of all, to the Zoeglossia team and all of the interpreters and captioners here. Yeah, I think this has been a really big influx of community, and I think I'm 22, to be a young person and to be disabled is to want community that you don't wish upon other people in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think I'll start with the first poem, which is, again, content warning for mentions of sexual violence and medical violence. And this poem is called Redacted because I think something that feels really true to poetry and being disabled and speaking in a different tongue is the sense that there are things in this world that the English language and medical diagnosis are incapable of. So yeah, this is that poem, and instead of naming those violences, I just named them redacted here. I cannot remember the first time I tried to take myself apart, maybe 4 or 5 after tumbling down another set of stairs, brains and limbs and guts spilling out from my pelvis on limp marionette strings. I do remember trying to puppeteer a body I could not direct otherwise. My mouth and these words, never mine, my maker always carving my wooden skeleton into flesh, his fears narrating the instructions for my body, his hands bending mine into place, into here position to prevent redacted. Clap across the ears to make them lose balance, bent my shoulders width apart, legs shoulder width apart, but not too far, not too close, and knees firm, but not too loose, not too tight to run, in case of redacted. Pen point to my forehead, etch in the names and faces that should prompt these instructions, in case of redacted, which you know could happen at any moment's notice. So remember how you are assembled, the instructions for how to turn on and run. Maybe 12 or 13 is the first time that redacted happened, but no one tells you how to fix yourself after a test run, how in running through the motions of the real thing, my maker had already left my parts impaired. Every time my flinches offset the hinges in my back, how repeating the same instructions over and over makes them lose meaning. In case of rape, in case of rape, in case of rape, see nothing. No, 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 see nothing. No one tells you how repeating the same instructions over and over doesn't burn a brand, but a blot into your brain. How your mouth stops knowing how to speak, how your body stops knowing how to listen, can only just limp there. How my already missing joints did not matter because it is easier to crack open an already broken doll. It happened exactly how my maker said it would. And that's the sign of a good narrator, isn't it? When your body does not exist before it is first animated by their words. And of course, like Pinocchio, I gained consciousness, left the maker space and his workshop. I use my cane when I can, have loved ones who anchor me when I can't. And of course, like Pinocchio, I too am trying to become a real boy. I smear testosterone under my arm every night to remind myself the doctors have at least given me that much. But too often, I find myself back inside hospital rooms, body segmented back to its wooden blocks. Every other time redacted has paralyzed my body, or at least just the memory of it, or every time my maker has tried to find me, or just the memory of his hands. And sometimes I cannot tell which is worse, the thing itself or the memory. How do you know what does more damage, an earthquake or its aftershocks? When there is a screw loose in my back, the doctors do not reach for the instruction manuals anymore. After looking at my chart, they say they don't have one for mutants like me, tell me the pain must only be the PTSD or some new variation of depression or anxiety, never anything going on inside my real body, see the damage and the repairs I've had done as a liability for trying to fix me at all. So sometimes I try myself to rip this skin at the seams, find a scar with so many to pick from, and I pull apart the threads, try again and again to take myself apart. And I've tried poetry to fix this, let my mouth hang open until it has dried out completely. But I do not know how to speak the language of my body anymore. Tell me, can you lose a language that was never yours in the first place? Tell me, can you lose a body that was never yours in the first place? I cannot remember a time where either were ever mine. I do remember never being able to take myself apart completely. And the thing about loose joints or missing hinges, these parts are all removable. I reassemble myself in patches and puzzle pieces, make space for friends to do some of the matching and stitching for me, fashion myself a collage of all of my loved ones. And the parts that are still broken, I'm renaming redacted for now. Yeah, so that's the first poem, kind of an intense one. And now we're gonna pivot. And like I swear I had not heard Kay's last poem, Sick for Sick, until tonight, but this poem it was created during these workshops, and it's called Altar to Crip for Crip, after Kay Ulande Barrett and Jimena Lucero. Come, step here, reach me at the feet of my altar. Holy is the resting place for this motley mess of organs and skin. Holy are the cushions, the closest thing to landing on a cloud might be like. Holy are the coves, the islets and the caves possible in the folds of sheets and comforter and stuffed animals, the crooks of your elbows and my bad knees. Holy is the vibrator hidden here, the testosterone in your hearing aids, my cane beside the bed in case we are to make magic, to turn pain into pleasure. Holy is the heating pad and the Sherpa-lined blanket. I can keep you bundled and warm in our own submarine. Holy is your hand bonded to mine as we travel to the depths of your ocean. Holy is your hand with its complete control of our gravity together. Holy is your hand tracing along my back, charting the constellations of my pain. Holy is the figure eight we travel in this boundaried space, this everything. Your limbs part moonlight, illuminating my weak leg. Together, not just whole, but something else entirely. How we fuse, create something even poetry cannot name. And who came first, me or you? Where your body ends and my mind begins, the spiral of entangled bliss. Holy is the figure eight we keep orbiting in our own little revolution. How revolving a figure eight onto its side itself becomes a symbol for infinity. Our mutilated bodies crashed sideways, a portal into everything still possible. Holy is how crip for crip is just another word for infinite. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. I need to recover from you. Jesus.
I see how you mixed Jimena's Infinite. I see you, Ren. I saw. I noticed.
Oh my goodness. Oh my, I hope you take a minute to sit with this chat, because I know it's a lot, and I know it's a lot to do all that you just did and then just move on with your evening. So I hope you just sit in this moment.
I had to adjust my heating pad with that one. I mean,
oh, actually, I'm about to go get mine. Like, it's like, oh wait, oh yeah, oh that's the one I have actually. Oh my goodness, there we go, there we go. Heating pad, gang.
It's weighted and it vibrates, but yeah.
I actually don't have that one. That's amazing.
But yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. I cried in the first one. And so many of us, I think, just were pulled into the emotions that you wanted to walk us through. And you said, we are going to go through the memory and the lack thereof, and what is memory and what is language and what are these things. And you did that. You did the damn thing, I will say. So just thank you. I'm going to go into the chat real quick. You have amazing. Yes. Whoa, just another word for infinite. You have amazing. You have holy fuck. You have yes, encore. The little revolution of revolving figure eight. Just goodness, your work is just so amazing. It's so many high fives and flames. And then yeah, we have Angela Bassett reference as well. So just thank you so much. This has been y'all are something. Y'all got me gonna go work on my pen, go work on my poem. So just thank you. We're gonna close out the evening of writers, and then we're gonna move into the Q&A after this next poet, next fellow. Just again, really want to take a moment and just say thank you to every single fellow that has come on to this virtual stage, that has decided to bear yourself and your everything. Life is, I'm gonna quote, we don't like Taylor Swift too much, but Taylor Swift did say life is emotionally abusive, and she did hit with that one. And a lot of us are addressing that in our poems and what does freedom mean. And so our last poet is Tate Okendo. who crafts occult writing, pop culture works, and multimodal art. Sorry about that. That's my damn messenger. Sorry about that, everyone. And multimodal art and text hybrids. Their work can be found in numerous literary journals, a hybrid memoir, a visual poetry collection, and 6 chatbooks. Their newest full-length collection, That Spell, will be released by Autofocus Books in 2023. They serve as an assistant editor for Sundress Publications and are a 2022 Zoeglossia Fellow. Please give it up for Tate, everyone.
Hi. Oh my goodness. So I didn't disclose this at any point to my group, but I also I struggle very much with syntax. I struggle a lot with stringing phrases together, and I've been pretty good about it, being able to communicate and talk, the last few days, but in the work, sometimes the syntax gets a little weird, so it's a little hard to read out loud. So I'm going to do my best, but if I stumble, it is not because I did not practice. Just want to tell you guys that because I practiced a lot. So I will read, this is a new poem that I've never read to anyone before. It's called My Whole Body is a Vision Board. After scissors and pictures a body, and that may be a biggest fear, that we do the kind of magic changes, that we begin where, a whole story because it doesn't matter when the planted, a sprout or tree to rest under, this experience. There's so much to cry for and ghosts everywhere to say this in a simple frame, but our hour are something to firework for. Oh, my heart. I'm going to share 2 more things, and they're quick, but the middle thing came out of the workshop with Irene a couple of days ago. So you guys heard a very short version of this, and I'm so excited that it happened and I get to read something really, really, really new. Yes, very, very excited. I realized that in that workshop, I was writing sort of like fan fiction about me and trans. So this piece is called Trans Fiction. I wrap Trans in a soft, heavy blanket. The clock stops while I reach for his left hand, poking through the thick knit. Trans hums special when he breathes out, and while I listen for the sound, I trace a finger over each of his knuckles. Trans has a fresh haircut, a fade on the sides and back of the head, a little long on top. He's new to sitting in the barber's chair and doesn't know how to ask for what he wants. He's resigned himself to some things, bound by setting and ticking, because if Trans knows anything, it's that there are rules, both real and imagined. Trans shares his name, a year old now, near to the day. But Trans has always been his name, as he has always been Trans, and that name shimmers, a feather in the light. I need joy, Trans says, so I hold him, hold him, hold him. Sorry, y'all, I'm so nervous, but this is such a safe place, so I'm fine. I'm powering through. I'm gonna read you one more short thing. Thank you all for your patience with me. This is from that forthcoming book that I've been talking about that I'm really terrified of, but I'm excited to share with you. It's called Call It by Name. Mending in the blaze of organs and their home is a kind of oil that makes fire lick and lap from guts to ear, curling inside right to the brain where you're supposed to process that this now is a new life, and this now is the answer to the holes in the wall and the holes in your intestines. And what then, when there's barely a home left, when the cinders are your new wrapping and you cocoon inside them hot and sweat out all the water left in you? There was barely any left anyway in the middle of all this, you point. And when you point, that cocoon breaks open like a shell, hardness all over, and there's a light left, maybe, if you look hard enough, because we're all going to die, and you might die from this or anything else, but you're going to live first, like charcoal smudging against a masterpiece. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Tate. And I just want to say, I know that you were nervous. I know that you were worried if you practiced or not, but just you being here, so wonderful. And everything was said so lovely. So I just hope you know that you did it. So, and you have a squishy friend, I do too. So there we go, emotional support needed. I also really quickly wanted to say that I was just so wrapped up in the facilitating bit that I actually completely skipped a fellow on accident. And so that is my bad, my fault. I apologize so deeply to Karemi. So again, I'm so sorry. I just got so entranced and then completely lost myself. So again, my deepest apologies. So just, we could take it as like an encore basically, but Karemi Dewega is a cultural worker, independent researcher, and archivist based in so-called Orange County, California. Her writing explores Blackness, grief, and place, inspired by the stories she heard her elders share as a child that used poetry to process what is and imagine what could be. Again, thank you so much. Please give it up for Karemi. Give big love, big hugs, big everything. I'm so sorry, fam. I'm so sorry.
You know, part of me was like, maybe this is, you know, for the best, because I'm also nervous, but also very excited. Was it, you know, the encore is encoring. Hey y'all, my name is Karemi. I'm a brown-skinned Black person with glasses, nose rings, wearing a grayish white sweatshirt. And this poem, I'm reading one poem, and it's about a former therapist. Content warning for anti-Blackness, violence, and policing. She asked me, how do you feel about the bad Blacks? You know, she continues, the ones that make it bad for the rest of you, as though I went to all the Negro meetings, as though I'd read all the Negropedia articles, as though I was only ever made Black for this moment. For her, she kept looking at me, her innocent, unfeeling eyes, kind smile on her lips, head tilted at a 30-degree angle to the right, all curious-like. As the tornadoes developing in my lungs fought each other for space, she's waiting. Black bad, like mouthing off to police officers. Black bad, like Black girls getting pushed out of schools, like school to prison pipelines. Black bad, like Ebola and AIDS. Black bad, like Compton, Soweto, Peckham, Kibera, Ciudad de Deus. Black bad, like Black on Black violence. Black bad, like runaway slaves. Black bad, like Boko Haram, Pyru, Somali pirates. Black boys in hoodies with candy and iced tea. Black bad, like Michelle Obama's theoretical afro. Black bad, like poverty, refugee camps, neglected inner cities, famine. Black bad, like Patrice Lumumba, Medgar Evers, Steve Biko, little Black girls changing their choir robes in Birmingham on a Sunday. Black bad to make them put bleach in the blue water. Black bad, like savage African natives with pagan rituals, needing them a good white god. Black bad, like Emmett Till's smile and Sandra Bland's selfies. Black bad, like Pelo Malo. Black bad, like Patois, Pidgin, Ebonics, Creole. Black bad, like Idi Amin, Papa Doc, Charles Taylor, Mobutu Trujillo. Black bad, like Nigger, Monkey. Strange food, Abid, Ghetto Bitch, Gator Bait, Future Inmate. Black bad at a barbecue and an Airbnb. At a college cafeteria, crossing the street, at home, driving. Black bad, laughing on a train while sipping wine. During every slave revolt, knocking on your door asking for help after a car accident. Black bad, creating food programs, talking about race, getting into all the schools. Black bad with confidence, got an attitude, being all prideful and shit, like they shit gold or something. Black bad, riot, never revolution. Black bad, economic migrant, not refugee. Black bad, civil war, turf war, gang injunction, foreign intervention needed. Black bad, chattel, unhuman, not woman, just thing. FUBU, farmers used to buy us. Black bad, like clutch your pearls, lock your doors, stand your ground. Black bad, like baggy jeans, long glossy nails, grills, trap music, twerking, enjoying themselves. Black bad, like Tyrone, Shaniqua, Amadou, Adebeye, Fatima, Devon, Mohammed, Shanene, Abdul, Shakisha, Juan, Mercedes, Aminata, Latifa, Assad. Black bad, like prison industrial complex. All lives matter, race card, chip shoulders, bootstraps. Black bad, Tuskegee experiment. Sarah Bartman's dissection, Henrietta Lank's stolen cancer cells, J. Marion Sims experiment on unanesthetized, restrained enslaved Black women. Black bad like trying to read, no, black bad like stealing loose cigarettes, allegedly stealing a backpack, sleeping on Nana's couch. Black bad Africans cutting off lips, noses, limbs, chopping people down in the dark continent. Black bad sick, devious, thieving, uncomplicated, simply monstrous, demented, evil demons. Black bad, the most homophobic, sexist, transphobic, backwards, unevolved, violent. It's in their DNA. Black bad, it even says so in the Bible, Quran, scientific books, scholars agree. They say measure their skulls. Black bad, as Teddy boys know, gotta keep Britain white, down with the niggers. Black bad, pimps, crackheads, lazy immigrants, welfare queens, drug dealers, no good. Black bad, hood rats, thugs, terrorists, sex workers, sensitive snowflakes, get over it. Stand for the ransom. Black bad for saying black, thinking black, feeling black, claiming black. Black bad in India, Libya, Japan, in the water, in space as a stormtrooper, in a play as Hermione. Black bad and thus Chad, Sudan, Somalia, your travel has been banned due to black bad. Black bad, so let the fire burn up Philadelphia to cleanse the neighborhood of the black bad. Black bad like trying to read, trying to vote, not standing on your black bad side of the segregation. Black bad, so Rhodesia, not Zimbabwe. Black bad, so states' rights, not states' rights to keep blacks enslaved. Black bad like writing a song called Fuck the Police. Black bad divided, look how they fight like animals, argue like children. Black bad better under French, Portuguese, Spanish, British, Dutch, Arab, German, Italian, or some kind of impartial non-black bad rule. Black bad curse the children of Ham. Black bad, how their women anger, see how they make the non-black bad women cry. Black bad like how black men feast on white women. Those 5 black boys were still up to something. Black bad robbers, drunks, bad parents needing their kids to be adopted. Black bad like causing traffic, barricading streets when another one jumps in front of an officer's gun. Black bad, so be one of the good ones. Speak clearly, punctuate your words, smile, be nice, don't yell. Black bad with their black student unions, history, Black History Month, nods, like we don't all come from Africa. Black bad Mau Mau, Samori Ture, Gaspar Yanga, Ya Asintawa, Ethiopia, fucking Haiti. Black bad, so Nama and Hero genocide, so Sharpeville massacre, so Theroy massacre, so bodies eaten up by the ocean, so black bad boat people still being eaten up by the ocean. Black bad Emmanuel Chidi Nambi and Amadou Diallo. Black bad Mamadou Gassama before he saved the baby from falling, and maybe after if he stops being a good one. Black bad undocumented 3 to 5 times more deportable than the non-black bads. Black bad not dancing, singing, providing athletic power for the populace. Black bad on the opposing team when the power isn't benefiting them. Throw a banana at them, tell them how you feel, make it racial. Black bad Negroid, Africant, burnt toast, Kafir, camel lips, cargo, criminal factory, gorilla, dirty, dirt. Black bad like likely to jump overboard. Good, you got insurance. Black bad, hostile, aggressive, unruly, possessive, obsessive, intimidating, too much. Black bad like, black bad, black, I answer her, me. I know that probably went over. I anticipated it being shorter, but thanks, y'all.
Literally, you just said like what a way to close our readings entirely, right? Like this is the last night, last group. And then like, and LMR put in the chat, see how the ancestors work. And I will say, I got my altar going, okay? My granddaddy was like, this person is going last, okay? This person will be speaking to us all. This was just such an experience of what it means to be Black throughout the diaspora. Just thank you for that offering. Thank you for your patience. And then just after you did it, you were like, I'm done. Like, I went over. Like, we didn't care if you went over. Damn, like we did not care. We were here, and you held us through all of that, all of the repetition. I hope that you can sit with the chat. I've said that with everybody, but I want to. Someone, Ren said, I want to hear that shouted from that motherfucking rooftops. So there's that. Okay, so bars from Bri. Carl Knight said there aren't enough flame emojis, and that's true. Sheila said one poem. Connie said one poem. Elamar said screaming, and I am too. So I just want us all to take a beat. It was just like it was such a beautiful night. The way how everything kind of rose too. It was just like we went in and we went in kind of, you know, slow and tender, and Kay just held us through that. And then the way in which Bri brought in the joy, and the way in which like all the emotions got pummeled through everybody's work. It's just, everyone was so incredible. So I just want us to, there's a ton of messages in here. I want to say thank you to the interpreters for coming through the whole night with us too. I want to give space for our Q&A. I also just know we experienced a lot. And so if we need a little bit of a breather, that's okay for us to kind of shift into the conversation bit of this evening. But we do have a Q&A section naturally if you want to drop it in the chat too. But this is just a really beautiful and unique and special opportunity to interact with the poets that you all just heard, who are either your colleagues, your peers, your co-fellows, your faculty, or your community members. And so whenever you all want to go on that ride, we have easily, it is only 5:19, so we easily have in half an hour. So we do have some time for some good conversation too. But right now I am just very, very appreciative. I'm gonna put myself on mute. I'm gonna give us a little bit of space. There was no rush with this either. I want to be very clear about that. So if it's just like a, whoa, we need to sit for a couple minutes, that's cool too. That's fine. I'm just here to ride y'all's wave. So, whew, just thank you. I will say I do have a question. So if no one wants to, because I always got questions. This is a typical question I ask though. This is a very kind of generic question, but I think because it was the theme of the evening, I'm so interested in hearing it from a poet's take, a colonized poet's take in particular, of what does freedom mean to you all? What does it look like? And whether that's on paper in your community, what you aspire towards with your writing, whatever that is, I'm very curious. And if that's just the moment that you read the poem this evening, so be it. There is no right or wrong answer, but I'm very curious. Yeah.
I can speak to that. For me, I think I alluded to this earlier, that when I was talking about the freedom I experience when I'm just out in my power wheelchair, full battery, full not full speed. That would be, well, I could do that actually, because I have the ability to do that. Yeah, just fully in my ability to express myself physically and emotionally how I desire to. That is freedom to me. And freedom also doesn't have to come with action, as I've discovered. Freedom to me is also just the freedom just to be, the freedom just to breathe and speak or not speak. The freedom is gratitude. Freedom is appreciation. Freedom is freedom is embodiment. Freedom is appreciating whatever senses I have in the moment. Freedom is the knowledge that I am living in the present moment. Freedom is that awareness. Yeah, that's just off the top of my head. Yeah, how I'd answer that question.
Thank you for sharing, Elizabeth, especially the bit how you started off and say the freedom to speak or not speak. and that like genuine choice and autonomy that like really informs freedom, and however that shows up in our lives is just so important. So thank you for centering that.
I think freedom for me is the ability to rest. That's really all. Not being pressured to do work or to be like the first of the fight or to have to talk all the time or speak on the trans people, the disabled people, the brown people, the working class people. My family members were migrant workers who were domestic workers cleaning house for white people, and who were disabled cleaning house for white people and rich people, rich East Asian people as well. So they didn't know what rest was, and that was their, so for me to just be languorous, the ability, the privilege to have a bed, and to just to explore the worlds of my creation and my communities and my art and my interest without being strangled to death by rent or capitalism or white supremacy is very important to me. Like the ability to just find out what joy is, to just sit in the woods, even if I'm able. I haven't had that privilege, So, and I'm getting that in my 40s, takes 40 years apparently. So I think those for now are what my freedoms are. Also, my dog shows me like full throttle jubilation.
I love that ending, full throttle jubilation. That's so cute. Rest. Rest is such I think that's something that a lot of people are just like, oh, just rest up. I'm like, it is not that simple, especially with like the historical and socio-political context that we exist in as writers and writing through that. So thank you to speaking to that.
Hi everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Hi everyone, it's Nora. Sorry about the mix up earlier with the reading. But I just wanted to hop in and answer the question. First off, what Kay said earlier about rest being a big thing, just historically being who we are, rest is not really allowed. So I kind of like to think that all the, laying around that I do is kind of like payback for my ancestors. So I take as many naps as I can. But also I think it was Nina Simone who said freedom is no fear, not having fear. So and again, with all of our like intersecting identities, fear is kind of like beaten into us. It has to be for the system to uphold itself, right? So kind of I guess transcend on the page, I'm able to transcend those like limits of who I can be and what I can say and things like that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nora. I also wanted to say no need to ever apologize, like no need at all. That we got to experience your work in such an incredible way. And just thank you for adding on to what Kay said and bringing Nina into the room. I think when we think about Nina Simone, that is an artist who really went to the page, went to the piano, went to her voice, and we saw that happen. Makes me think of El Lamar's workshop actually last year talking about Stars by Nina Simone. So really just love how full circle this evening is, but I just wanted to say thank you for that. There are questions also in the Q&A too, so I want to move on to that so that everyone is listened to this evening. So our next question, thank you, Kay, for that reminder, by the way. Our next question is from Susie. The phrase economic equity came up. Would anyone care to address that phrase? And of course, in the almost absurd context of poetry.
Eat the rich. The wealthy make no decisions in my world. If you're in a movement or revolution, I don't care how queer or trans or disabled you are. If there's a rich person, a wealthy person making a decision, that's not for me. That's all. I think we could be like redistribution or everybody gets the same. But I think wealth redistribution is light for me. I think there's a level of accountability that needs to happen with white people, with class people, with American-born people like myself. with abled folks. So, you know, with non-Black POC folks like myself. So that would be Black reparations and Indigenous reparations, distinctly and specifically. Yeah, I just nom, eat the rich.
That's it. That part. It makes me think of Queen Mother more. I think oftentimes reparations has been moved into, it's just a payment, it's just a check. We just need to redistribute everything. A lot of what Queen Mother Moore, who's like the mother of the grandmother of the reparations movement and kind of the mentor of all your faves, is like, that is, there needs to be an entire societal upheaval and a way in which addressing things, and things is, that's a very loaded word I'm saying right now, all the things that you said. So thank you, Kay. Okay, I want to give space if anyone else wants to answer that question. We also have another question in the Q&A. It's a little bit of a gear shift, so there is that too, but I want to give a little bit of pause for folks, because I know these are kind of big questions that do take a second, minute, years to sit with. And I also want to offer up the chat too. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to move forward. If anyone else has things that they want to add to the chat, of course, feel free, and I will look at it, read it, etc. So our next question, which we are about to answer, is what advice would published fellows or faculty give to poets who are trying to publish but have no experience of how to go about it? And in some ways, this does link back to the economic equity bit, right? Because publishing is so gatekept. So I'm very curious about these answers.
Study your favorite influences, look at their acknowledgements and see who they thank. Look at the bios of those that you love to read, see where they publish. Talk to faculty anywhere else. I'm letting you know, both of my books came from small ass, tiny, independent presses. I was not deemed literary, even though my book made awards, and only until I got a book are there larger, like the Big Five, or are there like Coffee House or other things. So for trans people specifically, I'm being very specific. For disabled people, for brown and or Black people, it looks very different. I told the cohort yesterday, before, make accomplices. The people in your cohort now, some of us are going to become editors, you know, some of us are going to be people judging panels. So at Lambda, when something happened, my friend Juby took me on and said, hey, be in this thing, you know? So do that. The relationships we're building naturally as disabled people. And if you come from a migrant family, if you come from a Black, Indigenous, or people of color family, trans, queer, chosen family, you have those skills. Those skills are built in. If you're poor, you know how to work collectively most times. So it's the same process. Yeah, find accomplices who will look out for your work. And know that when you're seeking mentorship, seek somebody who really understands your goals and advocates for you before you win any awards, before you even publish a book. Because once you get a contract or once you get a deal, everybody's going to want to be your friend. That's not the best. So just FYI, when you, before the book, pre-book, the people who give you roar, those are the ones you keep around. And then my book is touring, then I bring them in and say, hey, tour. And then when they tour, they bring me in. And if I'm anthologizing, I'm co-editing a book right now, and all the BIPOC and or disabled people I've worked with in Vona, at Lambda, at McDowell, I'm like, hey, I'm doing this thing. And that's what we do for each other. Done.
Thank you so much, because yeah, it can be so overwhelming trying to figure these things out and navigate. And I remember recently I had said, like, networking often feels like polite manipulation, and so where is their community building in those things? And so just thank you for speaking to that, because like I'm learning too. Someone in the chat had asked for Salim to speak to the why win. And so I just want to give that space real quick if you're down, Salim.
That's not true. I wrote that in the chat. I wasn't writing, and I wasn't writing that for me to speak about because that would be like super manipulative. No, I was inviting people to speak about the I think the why of publishing and the when are often we go straight to the how, and the what to publish and the how to do it. And I just feel like I'm always trying to listen to if somebody's saying like why to publish and when. So that was why that's what that was about.
I also want to understand that when I was publishing 3 years ago and 5 years ago, that the temperature is very different now, that there's a lot of youth focus. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people getting agents. 5 years ago, people weren't trying to get agents. Poetry was a very separate place than YA or nonfiction or fiction. So I just want to note too, that if you're a hybrid writer, work on that too. Build your community outside of poetry. Poetry is not your main meal. It doesn't have to be. The literary doesn't have to be, as per example, with Urayuan, with Jerome, with everybody. Everybody's pretty hybrid and builds in other communities. So a poem that was rejected by the Boston Review was accepted at the UN. You know what I'm saying? So everything is very different. Your poems may not have the outfit you want at first, but it takes on its own breath and creature elsewhere. So honor that too. Some people will, let me be clear, some people will block your ass. I know there are white trans people, white able people, white queers who just won't look at my work because I question whiteness a lot, and that's going to happen. Like, it's like the real world. Just understand poetry is a microcosm of the real world. White supremacy exists, ableism exists, fat phobia, anti-Blackness, So keep that in mind, that it's not a personal rejection to you, right? It's because somebody else has some systemic, oppressive, class, whatever stuff, and they're just redirecting it and poo-pooing on your brilliance. And that's the poem, the book will find a home. And if it doesn't, talk to me and we'll try to find a home.
Oh my goodness, Kay. Your words are always just so like grounding and just so like I feel like I'm wrapped in a blanket. Thank you. Want to put that Ren put in the chat from Jerome's workshop today, quote from Audre Lorde, which I think really speaks to what you were saying. Of all art forms, poetry is the most economical. It is the one which is the most secret, which requires the least physical labor, the least material, and the one which can be done between shifts, in the hospital pantry, on the subway, and on scraps of surplus paper. So yeah, free as hell on a cell phone too. There's that too. On napkins, on so many things. So thank you. I also wanted to just give space for fellows who maybe haven't published a book, but have been published in like reviews or journals. If you all wanted to share what that has been like for you, just even that process, even if it just felt organic or whatever, it doesn't have to necessarily be prescriptive. So I just want to give that space for you all before we go to the next question.
I can speak to that. I guess I would say that everything that I published has felt fairly organic in terms of just opportunities have presented themselves, and then I just took them. So yeah, it's felt fairly organic in that sense, and then I've always had a good sense of which poems to submit, and then yeah, so I don't know if that's luck or something else, but it's definitely been my experience.
When it feels organic, it feels really lucky, and it feels like there's no kind of scientific method to it. So thank you for speaking. Okay, I want to give, this continues in the same vein. So I figure, if whatever from the last question comes up, cool. But Carl gave a really sweet message / question. Thanks so much to the poets for sharing so much new work. My question is, how are the poets feeling in sharing new work? Are there particular things you're listening out for to tweak as you read the poem aloud? I'd be so intrigued to hear about your plans for where these fresh poems go next. Such a sweet question. Y'all are just so sweet. I just keep saying that. It's such a nice question. So.
I can hop in super quick, because I mean, I feel, Carl, you kind of alluded to this, and I mentioned this in another workshop, because I love to like quote our own community, that you were saying that a poem doesn't end when you finish it, but kind of alluding to the fact that it ends when we receive it. It continues after you, and I'm definitely going to take that with me from this year's retreat, of just like, yeah, put a period or a hard slash, a couple double slashes, but it's like, and the page turned, but it's like, no, it didn't really end. So that's one answer to your own question from yourself.
Also want to add, Carl put in the chat, a shorter version of my question might be, what are your hopes and thoughts for the new poems you've read tonight? Especially when you've gotten feedback from people, I do think that tends to change my relationship to poems, old and
I feel like something that this conversation brings up a lot for me is like, just as someone who hasn't really like published much, like because I'm a spoken word poet, like every time I read a poem takes new form. If I'm reading in front of a white audience, I don't choose to read certain lines. If I'm reading in front of like a mostly like cis and straight audience, I don't read certain lines, or like but I think like something else that always comes up after I read a poem though, and the nice thing about like getting to see your audience, I think, is like getting to hear what resonates and like the lineages that like, I think for me, every poem is after multiple poets and after multiple other poems. And like my poems do not exist without other people and other poems that they are written after. And like, I think something that I would love to see more are just like poems that I feel like is really hard to see in like individually published work, is like kind of like pod maps and like entire like webs of like care webs almost of like, which also feels like a really true like disability poetics thing, is to be like, hey, here's everyone that like I am calling in with this, and here's like all of the ways that I am writing after this thing, and like here are all of the revelations that it's bringing up. Yeah, I don't know, I think like that feels true for me. I think, I don't know, I think like I think for me, like of the poems that I was sharing tonight, most of what I'm hoping to hear more about are just like how they are like sparking other poems, or like what poems they are reminding other people of. Like someone sent me a poem that like, to me, like a great compliment is like, hey, your poem reminded me of this person's work, you should go check them out. And like that is just like one more like less feeling yes, no, literally like the literal circles from like the Bay Area Transformative Justice Collective's like thing of like the dotted line circles of are like the people that you want to bring into your pod, and like the ones that are like solid lines are the ones that you like are in your pod. And like for example, like with my pod maps, I have one specifically around like sexual violence, and I have one specifically around like my like crisis response team around like trauma and like psychosis, and like those take on different forms. But yeah, but I'm gonna stop talking now.
Thank you for sharing though. I just want to say, because I know sometimes when we talk too much or we feel like we're talking too much, because I want to say that's really what it's just feeling like, that you definitely said so many amazing things, and just thank you for bringing in the care pod mapping bit. And that would just be so, I mean, it also brings in kind of what we're talking about earlier, like ancestors. We bring in our ancestors, we bring in those who came before, but we also bring in those who keep us here now. And so much of your work does speak to that. So thank you for expanding on that more too, Ren. We have another question, which is exciting. This is from Pine. Curious what you think about sharing poems in zines versus a book or publishing, and how might you decide poems you want to keep private or public? I'm very interested in that too. So whoever wants to take that one on, go for it.
I guess I can try and answer this. The only work I've had published so far has been in a zine. I'm not super like, I'll kind of put my stuff out anywhere to anyone who'll listen, so I'm not very picky in that sense. But I don't know, I just feel like the more eyes and ears that can get near my work, the better. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to, like, I have an anthology I'm putting together to publish eventually, but I feel like with zines, there's kind of a wider reach. So I do like that, that aspect of it.
Kay put in the chat online journals too, though. Thank you, Nora, by the way. I think sometimes it's hard to figure out what to keep private versus public, because once we share it, it's no longer ours. And so what does that mean? Especially as colonized people, especially as people who are very system impacted, what does that mean when it's not ours? Especially like when reclamation happens in public and whatnot. So smaller collectives and publications were also listed. I think personally for me, it's really interesting to see zines, as they tend to kind of push up against publishing and it as a big beacon and giant. At the same time, like, I also understand we all got to eat and we have bills to pay and whatnot. So it's a very tricky, quote unquote, game, the game of life, the game of survival under capitalism, as they say.
I will say that the first poem I read was actually published in a zine and featured in an art show as well, which is neat. And it was just one of those organic processes again, and just something that I knew needed to be seen by a wider audience. So yeah, I definitely had a good feeling about that. And yeah, it's also in my own manuscript. So
Oh, Salim, you want to go first? I have something to add, very connected to Elizabeth. You made a great point. Huh? Yeah. If you think about nonprofits too, I know I don't trust the nonprofit industrial complex either. Pero, things like Forward Together. I think also using and creating cohorts and accomplices with visual artists and dancers, right? Think about poetry as something really fluid. It doesn't have to be in publication. If you study the work of Benji Hart, who is a trans, non-binary Black movement performer and dancer, they work in transformative justice spaces and circulate their work with like Miriam Kaba and transformative justice spaces. So you can still get a widespread space, right? And I think Walela is really pinging there too with online spaces too. Like, I'm not going to promote TikTok, but when I'm on TikTok and I'm like, I'm a poet, then people are like, oh, that's interesting. You complain about ableism and you write poetry, so just cast a wide net if your spoons are able, connect with hybridized forms of media, and you'll expand your audience more and more. And I think that's really, really important, because then you get things like Sesame Street, right? Where I said like 3 lines, but they paid me real good. And I saw Asian people, there were other Asian disabled people and Asian puppets and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not the Paris Review, but tell me somebody in the United States who doesn't learn English through Sesame Street.
Questions that demand answers that we know the answer to. Okay. But the hybridized bit is I think that's like such an important thing to say. As someone who has been in poetry for 10 years and in many different ways, I found when I limited myself to one community, that was really restricting, and also restricting in my own expression. So just thank you for calling that in, Kay, very consistently, and reminding our fellows of that too, and our audience members. I know Salim, you had raised your hand, so I want to give space for that too.
Sure. I also just dropped the link to Sesame Street, their newer initiative for getting more BIPOC writers. The applications are open, I think, through the end of the month. But the applications, June 5th. But the applications are pretty interesting and like kind of straightforward. And Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is doing the same thing. So just plugging those in. It's a transition from Kay's comment. Children's programming at the heart of it is poetry. Like, I have 7 8-year-old twins, and like it's they just be dropping bars every day, So anyway, my question was going the Ute. My question was going to be anybody can answer it, but I'm particularly interested in repetition. And I've heard people say, if you repeat a phrase too much, then like people aren't going to hear it, or blah blah blah. And I think about black, like black bad, like I'm going to be, that phrase is going to be in my head like for a while, and a lot. And all right, I should say the question, because that's just me giving props to the work. At what point was don't laugh at me, at what point did black bad click, and were there ever any moments where you kind of had to be like, where is this, kind of the journey of black bad? I would love if you're able to kind of walk us through a little bit.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. As I said, it was about a therapist, and I think I was just stuck on the experience and the wordings that she used in that conversation, and I wanted to like subvert it and take the power away from her. So I think the beginning of the poem, where I kind of like make fun of her with like the Negro meetings and the Negropedia, I wanted to bring it back to the term black bad, like, but to give it like substance. And like I did it in lowercase on purpose, because it was like recognizing that there's like power removed from blackness, and like I don't use blacks like in my everyday language. I like saying black people, but I was like, let me make this in a way that is simplified, and like simplifying it to make it like even just black bad. It's just like so simple that it like seems ridiculous. And I think like when I kept using it, it just felt like a hymn. Like the repetition made it feel like I was building a home out of this really traumatizing experience, this really disappointing experience, and taking the power away by building a narrative and like building a story. I sent her the poem. Like I like fired her and then I sent it to her, and I was like, that was my mic drop. So it was kind of like a tool to process the experience. And I do like repetition after this poem. I think this is like when I like realized that repetition could like be a hammer and like be a tool to build a story. And I think sometimes like repetition is seen as like, you know, simple, but I think it can be really nuanced, and like you can use it to build something bigger. I think this poem's bigger than me. Like it's yeah. I sit with it sometimes and I'm like, am I gonna write something as good as this again? And that's inspiring in a way.
Yeah, it brought, thank you so much. It hit home with things I've heard across a couple workshops and readings. I've heard people talk about incantations. I've heard people talk about rhythms, talk about drums, talking about, I feel somebody was talking about a seance in a reading one night, you know. So I feel like there is this, I feel like unfortunately crypt time has kind of become, as with most things, you know, it gets yeah, like Andre 3000 said, you know, it's cool, they take it away, but we just keep making new shit. Like I feel like in this poem made me think differently about using the word crypt time. Is hearing this phrase over and over literally took me through different times, sometimes that have not even existed yet, and other times that I'm so glad I didn't have to experience, but I'm so glad that people before me did, and hopefully got through it with minimal scars, and hopefully I'll pass the minimal scars to my kids, right? And so I just appreciate moments like that where a phrase that has kind of maybe become whitewashed, maybe become, you know, monetized, that poets can bring back a power, sort of re-energize you know, a phrase. So I just want to say thanks for that that experience tonight. Yeah, that was my burning question. I was trying to limit myself because I had like 8 or 9 questions.
No, I appreciate it, Salim. And I think like also, I keep saying I appreciate it because I do. I was just like, you know, we'll talk about repetition. I will do that all day. So I think one of the things that's also just something that's considered very, when we're trying to appeal to like a Eurocentric standard, is like saying things very differently and new and whatever, and repetition is considered remedial, and it's not considered, you know, something that we should be trying to do. And it's like the ways in which like form gets reclaimed, and the ways in which like form as incantation, however we use form too. Yeah, just so much to think about and sit with and be with. Yeah, remix and break them forms. Yeah. Nora put religion is common in my work because of my autism, and echolalia, I think I said that right. I think some words are so beautiful and impactful. Jesus, the check keeps going. They bear repeating without diluting them. Exactly. Yeah, I got what you said, Nora, about that, but thank you. I want to make sure that we all have space and time to share. If you have any other question, we have just a little bit of more time. But if not, what we can do and what I thought would be really sweet, since this is the last reading, this is a unique opportunity. If you all want to stay in contact in some way, especially if you aren't really part of the Zoeglossia community like that, and you want to drop your social media handles or a way to contact you, or something you're excited to do this evening. It can go, I like to give multiple prompts because we all are not linear people. And we all, what we're focused on is different. So whatever you want to put there. But I wanted to also, while I'm talking, feel free to do that. I wanted to say thank you so much to every single fellow that read every single night, not just tonight. I want to say thank you to our faculty who went through so much to be able to provide the workshops, be able to provide the space for our fellows to feel safe, to feel heard, to feel like that they could meet themselves on a piece of paper or on whatever they used to write. I want to say thank you to the Zoeglossia staff. I want to say thank you to our interpreters, to New Mexico State University. And I just want to say thank you for being here tonight. And I look forward to thank you, Ren. It was an absolute honor, joy, and pleasure to witness you all. So I am going to close out the evening, but that does not mean you have to leave. We kick you out at 5 p.m. So in 6 minutes, but take your time. It's like a lobby at the end of a little, little get together. Just you can chat or you can dip. That's fine. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It has been an incredible year. I'm very emotional thinking about it. I'm probably going to go cry, but thank you. Thanks, all.